Hey, what's the good word, Jets family? Let's go gang green. Today we're talking about the wide receiver room. This is by far the best receiving team, and you can even consider it like a strength of the team. Now, I don't know how long it's been since we can say that. The last time I felt really confident prior to having Brandon Marshall, Eric Decker. What was the last good duo? Probably before then, like Braylon Edwards, Santana Holmes. Um, we had the Lavornus Coles, Jericho Cotchery. We had a few moments where we had a good number one, number two, maybe upper tier one and two, but we've never had either a supremely talented number one, at least in the last decade, or extremely good depth. I think that's honestly the calling card that we have for this team this year is that we have very talented prospects on a spectrum, right? We have Corey Davis, still relatively young in the league. We have Elijah Moore, and to be honest, I don't abide by the normal, I guess, archetypes for what a number one receiver might be. We've seen it in various forms. We've seen, the guys 6'2" plus, 200 plus pounds that can go up and, just snatch the ball out of the air, a la, uh, I'm drawing a blank. Good Lord. Like a Brandon Marshall would have been in the past, or like a DeAndre Hopkins would be, right? We've seen kind of the do-it-all wide receivers, so maybe more of your Odell Beckham's, a little bit more flashy with it, kind of like the Julio Jones. They have the speed, they have the size, they have the route running ability. They can pretty much do anything within any system that you're looking for. And then you have your smaller, shiftier people. So we've seen our Antonio Browns and players of that size and mold. So I think he can come. I think the scheme will generally bring it out of the player more so than the player will bring it to the scheme. But there are the exceptions to that rule. Percy Harvin, excuse me, for example, I think was a really good player that kind of had the gadget role archetype his entire career, but we know that he was going to crush it when he got the ball in his hands. Corey Davis, again, very young in the league. He's just started to kind of tap into and let's say realize some of that potential that the Titans decided to draft him for. And we're taking a chance on being able to continue that trend, kind of embellish that skill set a little bit more, and hopefully see a better product on the field for him heading into his first season with us. Elijah Moore, the most exciting prospect I think that we've had in a long time. We generally have not drafted receivers well at all. So I think that's the starting point, right? I think the previous regimes didn't know what a talented receiver really looks like. We were ground and pound for a long time, so that really played a part in it. The other half is that we just never really had a scheme that seemed to work out for any players, let alone the coaching staff and the ability to develop them beyond whatever they came with already. So, somebody's good in catching in traffic, they're good at route running, then let's build up the other traits. Let's make sure they can become that possession receiver on third downs if we need to. Somebody that's a chain mover, somebody that can stretch the field and kind of put all those components together. Elijah Moore seems like he can be all that, potentially more. We're heaping a lot of praise on him, a lot of expectations in the first season. I'm trying to refrain from it, but to be honest, I really do think that he can capture glory for us right away. I wouldn't be surprised if he ends up being essentially the number one, even ahead of Corey Davis. What that will look like for us this season, I don't know. Maybe it's just from a stat projection kind of mindset that I'm coming from. We have Keelan Cole coming in. I've heard some really nice things about him from the previous coaches, friends, family around the league. So I think we've seen Joe Douglas do a good job of course, that football background coming into play, scouting. But we also know that he's really tapped into his resources, his connections, his network out there, and he's brought in people that generally we're hearing a lot more things on the positive side than anything that can come up negative. If it's a negative thing, it's either something that was kind of left to the wind, or it's something that really was like a surprise or a shock maybe to the franchise. But Keelan Cole, I'm really excited for. I think he can do a lot of things, and maybe uh, the same way that maybe an Elijah Moore can, but we know that he has a bit better size to him. So I've seen the moments watching the Jaguars, especially considering their quarterback situation, very similar to ours, maybe even worse, depending on how you want to rank it. And he's shown that he can have some success. Uh, um, Outside of that, that's just our top three, right? We had, or have, excuse me, Jamison Crowder. We'll see pretty much how that works. I can see it being like duo slot receiver kind of mix sets that come out there, almost essentially like doing a double tight end package in a way. So I can see, four wide receiver sets being something that's really common for us this season. Um, Jamison Crowder, Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Keelan Cole, the last two, Denzel Mims. He's somebody that I think, and I've been seeing a few more videos come out recently too, saying that, he's potentially the breakout player in the wide receiver room, which is really interesting if you're kind of not expecting that from Elijah Moore, I guess. He is still a rookie. There's still going to be an acclimation period. Corey Davis, I guess you can say he already broke out with the Titans when we brought him over. Jamison Crowder's been essentially holding down the wide receiver room the entire time. So I think there is some truth to that being, a valid statement for us. But ultimately, I don't know what to think of Denzel Mims at the moment. He had his few bright spots, and that we know or have an idea in mind of what we can expect from him. He can high point the ball. He's going to bring it in. He's going to win the majority of those 50-50 balls. How that works out with the West Coast scheme we're installing, we know we like shiftier kind of players. I don't think it necessarily matters the archetype that, the body size that comes in. LaFleur has even said as much in some of his interviews, but it's not common. If you have a taller receiver, unless they end up being, a physical freak of nature, more often than not, we know that they're going to be, a possession type receiver. I'm wanting to know what his expanded skill set may look like. So he's had a full off season ahead of him. He's had some nagging injuries and stuff. So, that sets him back a little bit. But I really don't know what to make of him. I'm hoping for the best. I was really excited just kind of watching those spur of the moment moments last season with him. But I'm going to wait for the on-field product, see what some of that commentary looks like, and we'll see how it breaks out for him. If he breaks out being like a projected number 4, number 5 receiver in the room, then we've done something extremely well throughout the season, right? So I will take it as a win. For that 6th spot, I'm trying to think who else comes to mind. This season has been a bit of a whirlwind for me with just kind of all the news, and work's been a little bit crazy. But Corey Davis, Elijah Moore, Keelan Cole, Jamison Crowder, Denzel Mims, Braxton Berrios put to most likely be in the number 6, right? There was a lot of connections with Zach Wilson earlier in the season, mandatory minicamp. It was really him and Elijah Moore getting a lot of the praise and having a lot more of those balls thrown that way. Makes sense. Tight end's essentially supposed to be the security blanket, but the slot role is essentially the player you expect to kind of find those open holes in the defense and everything. So it makes sense, especially in the West Coast, and there's a lot of slant type routes and things like that where it should be easy for them to get open, at least within, the first 5 yards or so. So I think with that ability for them to pretty much immediately play out in space instead of having somebody in their face right away, that definitely suits their skill set. But again, I'm not somebody who says, we need to have this type of receiver at one position. We've seen the Bears have a lot of success with the Monsters of Midway. We've seen the Patriots do it with various players and acquisitions over the year. Green Bay, Aaron Rodgers is a freak of just football in general. I've never seen people besides Brady and maybe like Peyton Manning and, of course, some of the other all-time greats like Staubach and them But more recently, I haven't seen anybody. Oh, and Roethlisberger, I think he definitely has his fair due here. Those players have been able to accentuate and help develop at a ridiculous rate the skill set of some of these wide receivers that they're bringing in. So I think that's what really separates the elite quarterbacks from those that just end up being good or great. Um, and that pretty much speaks for itself. But for the first time in a long time, it's really interesting not having to worry about seeing which undrafted wide receiver that we might have took for that year has the best chance of trying to break out and make the team and potentially, benefit us in a really strong way. Um, the last season, there was a few people I like, but the one that I was hoping for the most potentially was Lawrence Cager. I know that he's still on the roster, I believe. I don't think we've cut him. He's most likely going to end up being a practice squad player, unless for whatever reason he really does have a ridiculous training camp. But with that said, I am super, super excited. I know we've done a lot of development in the front office, a lot of our new departments. We have a new safety and safety. I forget what they call it, but basically a new department to oversee the safety aspect of things, and then the department that's going to be handling all the nutritional, all of the workout, kind of putting those regimens together for the players to best bring out their potential based on their physical body build. So I'm looking forward to a lot of things. I think we're going to have a lot more success this season, and the wide receivers will actually be the vocal point and not just a footnote in any kind of success that we have on the season. But if I had to give it an order, I guess, before we leave, I think number one, we have Elijah Moore. I really do think he's the star of the team. If Corey Davis breaks out, I would love it. A couple 1,000-yard receivers, I won't hate. But I think Elijah Moore ends up being 1, Corey Davis 2. Jamison Crowder would have to be 3 in my mind. Braxton Berrios, I would say, would probably be a 4. Denzel Mims a 5. Well, I'm forgetting Keelan Cole. So I guess Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Keelan Cole, right? Jamison Crowder. Braxton Berrios, I would say Denzel Mims is probably that 6, to be honest. And this is just a gut feeling based on what I've heard in minicamp, kind of seeing that connection already with certain players over others. But who knows? Who knows? I've had this argument through Bleacher Report a little bit, so my list has changed a bit over like the last month or two. But I'm interested to know, who do you guys think is going to take the top spot at the depth chart, and how does the rest of the positions fill out? Other than that, stay tuned. We'll have the offensive line positions knocked out pretty soon, and then we'll get into the defense. But training camp started. We don't have Zach Wilson, unfortunately, but I'm sure all of that will get worked out sooner than later. That just means more work for the backups, which doesn't help out a whole lot, but it does clear up that picture quite a bit. So I'm sure there's definitely a rush and a demand on getting that completed. But can't say it enough. Go Gang Green. Again, let me know what your thoughts are on how the positions fill out for the wide receiver depth chart. And with that said, I hope you guys enjoy the night. Peace.